My topic is on capital punishment. My main claim is that capital punishment is unconstitutional and it is way too expensive. First off, the death penalty, otherwise known as the capital punishment, is unconstitutional because it violates the 8th Amendment. Today death is considered a cruel and unusual punishment by a majority of people. A lot of people think that to kill someone, no matter how harsh the crime, is actually cruel. The death penalty does not serve to teach a lesson. Rather, life in prison would. So saying like, if someone on death row for 30 years, they're not being taught a lesson. They're just sitting there. But if they're in prison, they're doing work and they're doing things that other inmates would be doing, and they would possibly rethink their decisions. My second claim is that inmates who are on death row should be in prison rather than sentenced to death. For one, it is according to Washington Post, it is too costly to keep inmates on death row rather than keep them in prison, and it is unnecessary to kill someone based off their previous actions, and just better fit for them to be in prison. It is, like I said, is completely unnecessary for someone to be killed because they killed someone else. They should just be punished and for the rest of their lives instead of being killed. According to Time magazine writer David Vondrell, he said it could take up to half a century or 50 years for an inmate to be executed. And that's a very long time, which costs a lot of money. And he said it's a complete waste of time and money. And my third claim is that, yes, the death penalty is too expensive. According to Stephen Urquhart, Republican senator of Utah, he says it costs, to execute a person, it costs about $1.6 million. And according to the LA Times, Carol Williams says that the death penalty costs California $184 million a year. And in Business Insider, a study called Expensive Death Penalty Cases from Seattle University says that each case can cost up to $3 million, and non-capital cases can cost up to $2 million. And in this article on Business Insider, there was a chart that listed like the different sections of the death penalty process, like the case and everything in between. And the most expensive parts were the case and the post-incarceration, as opposed to prosecution and the court and the appeals and the jail time. So everything after and the court case were the most expensive processes. And taxpayers of America suffer about $1 million per case. So with that, in conclusion, the death penalty or capital punishment is unconstitutional because it is considered a cruel and unusual punishment, and it is too expensive, and we could be using the money for other valuable things like education.
All right, the proposition is identified. It has two parts to it. That's a little complicated. There's no preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. When you get to the second point in the body of the speech, you've got a policy claim that's built in there. Can't use a policy claim to support a claim of fact, so that's a little bit problematic. The internal structure is pretty reasonable on those 2 points, so we are able to follow the ideas that you're giving us. The evidence on the first point is all hypothetical and asserted, so there doesn't seem to be any information on the constitutionality issue other than an opinion and some hypotheticals, so I think that that's problematic. When you get to the cost issue, that's where there's a little bit more substantive material. You have good information on how much it costs to go through the process, how much the state of California, for instance, pays on these sorts of things. There might be a value argument here which says, well, that's a waste of money. I'm sure that the argument about how to spend the money is, in fact, a priorities argument that concerns a value issue. What's the most appropriate way to spend the money? You make an argument that says that it's unnecessary, so my question is, why is it unnecessary? Does the death penalty have no advantage over life imprisonment? Does life imprisonment have some advantage over the death penalty? The only ones that you talk about are the hypotheticals on the first point, and that's not really enough proof to justify the conclusion that it doesn't have any particular value. I think that's problematic. So your generalization on the first point undermines a little bit some of the argument on the second point, and then there is some cost argument on the second point that I think needs to be developed a little bit more also. All right, thank you.